Welcome to @MarketingKitchenTV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchenTV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome, marketing chefs. I've got something truly special cooking in our Omni-Channel oven today. Hey, Marketing 405 and Marketing 682. I just wanted to give you a quick note to tell you that I just finished recording Chapter 5, Chapter 6, and guess what? There were still more questions, so I recorded a bonus Chapter 7 and a bonus Chapter 8. So I hope you'll enjoy the next 4 videos that I'll be posting up to YouTube. I'll post 2 next week, and then I'll post 2 the week after. I just wanted to tell you that real quick, and also let you know that I wanted to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you're able to spend it with family and friends. Keep safe, keep well, and thank you so far for a fantastic semester. I'll see you again real soon across LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Chapter 6 of 6. Up next in the Marketing Kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, the Marketing Kitchen. Hi, I'm Ron Vining, your host of Marketing Kitchen TV. Welcome to @MarketingKitchenTV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchenTV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome back for what should be the final video for our Fall 2020 session, which is Chapter 6. Thank you for joining us again. This is Chapter 6 of 6. When I'm done recording the answers to these questions, I'm going to do 2 bonus episodes, so it'll be Chapter 7 and a Chapter 8. But this does conclude what was scheduled anyway to be our Fall 2020 Q&A series. But because there's more questions that have been curated, I'm going to do a lightning round for a Chapter 7 and a Chapter 8. But this is 6 of 6. And we pick up where we left off, and this question curated is by Patrick. And by the way, this is Marketing Kitchen TV Q&A Live. I know you know that already, but if you want to ask a question and have me answer it here on YouTube, all you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchenTV. It's right there in the logo. Utilize the hashtag Q&A on Twitter, and I will answer your questions here. All right, Patrick asks, with money as no object, how would a business struggling to advance in digital marketing? Oh, with money as no object, how would a business struggling? Patrick, I'm confused. All right, with money as no object, how would a business struggling to advance in digital marketing? I guess I'll continue on with the second part. What are a few practices and programs to stand out and get more clicks than the competition? What should they do to maximize their SERP? Okay, so if I'm guessing then this is the question. So if you had an unlimited amount of dollars, how would you, actually, would your business still struggle? Maybe, maybe not. But how would you do your digital? And what are some of the practices and programs that stand out to get more clicks than the competition? What should you do to basically maximize your SERP? Now, does anybody know what SERP is out there? Anybody want to guess? I'm trying to think about it myself. What I love about technical terms is that sometimes they're completely unnecessary because we just do them. We don't think about it. All right. So let's go with this complicated and tricky question one more time. So if I've got absolutely all the money in the world, how would I advance in my digital marketing? And what would I do to maximize my search engine results on the page? Whoa, okay, here we go. So if money is absolutely no object, what I would do is I would hire a Hollywood studio to script out for me. All right, let me back it up for a second. I would do an analysis of my customer, and I would data mine to see what my customers' wants, needs, and desires were, and what type of channels they were on, and what type of content they preferred to receive on those particular channels, and at what particular time of day that they like to receive those messages. Then I would hire a Hollywood studio to construct, now I would do this myself actually, but I would hire a studio and I would have them help me to develop the best scripted content in the marketplace. I would hire the best branding agencies and advertising agencies to come up with the best slogans and messaging in the marketplace. I would take those messages though first and I would test them back out to see if they actually resonate with my customer. So I could do A, B, C, D testing like Amazon does and other brands. Then I would use these same Hollywood studios to produce the best looking content that was story based and blockbuster on the planet. I would then take that content, and whether it be dynamic in the form of video or whether it be static in the form of photographs with compelling content and taglines, I would probably, as I try to knock my microphone out of my iPad and off of me, I would then probably also hire several different bands to have different music that would appeal to different audiences. And what I would do is I would put all of this together and I would make it into like the best music video on the planet, or the best short form story based content on the planet. And I would run those ads on YouTube, and I'd run them on Instagram, and I'd run them on Facebook, and I'd run them on LinkedIn, and I'd run them on Pen, and I'd do them on Snap, and I'd put them on TikTok, and I'd put it on every channel on the planet, again, because money isn't an object to me. And I would have them in different forms based upon, so it'd be more copy perhaps, and more fact-based for LinkedIn. It would just be great, compelling pictures, maybe some video on Insta. On Facebook, it would be run the gamut of just about everything. On Pin, it would certainly just be photos. On TikTok, it'd be short form. On Twitter, it would probably be in the form of memes, sometimes video. I'd throw YouTube ads up, as I mentioned. Anyway, you get the point. That's what I would do, and that's how I would stand out. And I would have all of these have some form of a cliffhanger, and it would invite you to click to go back to my website, or go to the app page to download an app, or go directly to the e-commerce store for that particular product to buy it. Right? So you're getting the idea, Patrick? What I would do is I would create the most compelling content possible in the marketplace that appealed to the wants, needs, desires of my audience. I would then put that in paid promotion all over social media. I would also use influencers too, right? And money's no object. When I mean influencers, I mean real influencers. So I don't mean these phony Instagram people that get 10,000 connections and they're just hawking. I'm trying to grab, I have no products nearby, but they just don't like show themselves in some pose with their product, right? Yeah, okay, those waste of money, people. So I wouldn't take them. I would actually get real influencers. And so they would be people that had a super large following, people who actually have influence by either, and not that they deserve it, but whether they'd be an athlete or whether they'd be a celebrity or they'd be somebody in the news media. That would be one piece. And again, depending upon my product, sometimes maybe I just use real people. And those Instagram posers, they are not real people. I would use real people, and those would be actual customers or actual doctors or dentists or construction workers, law enforcement, whoever it might be. I would put them in and those videos as well, or those memes, the photographs, whatever. Anyway, you get the idea? And that would be the way that I would create, produce, seed, do an analysis of, and I'd put it out on all the channels. And again, there would be some form of fulfillment in that if you wanted to continue the story, you wanted to hear the rest of the song, you wanted to watch the rest of the video, you wanted to hear or read more, when you click, it drove you to a close, to a transaction. I was a horrible salesperson because I never closed the deal. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a closer. The reason why is because I hate asking somebody for something. So, fantastic marketer, horrible salesman. Your social media has to be a good salesperson. They've got to always ask for the close and then also have an alternative close. So in other words, there's always a question that asks an answer from the audience, not something that ends the conversation. And as a marketer, not a salesperson, I'm always about creating a conversation that just could go on forever, as about trying to close the deal, okay? So anyway, you take from that whatever you want. But anyhow, that's what you would need to do. I hope that answers your question, Patrick, and I hope that you enjoyed my being a bit silly while doing it. I'm having a bit of I just had my second cup of coffee, and I just had some dinner, and yeah, I guess I'm burning those calories now, and that caffeine's kicking in. So I'm running. All right, next up here we have, picking up where we left off is Anthony's question. And Anthony asks, or curates the question to be answered rather. I would like to nominate this question by, and it's Peter, I know that, to be answered on YouTube, because learning about actual real-life cases of successful digital marketing application can be extremely useful. And that is true, and I hope that I am actually able to give you an actual real-life case example or response or answer back. All right, Peter asks, in the NBA, oh yes, I remember we had a chat about this, or I responded to this tweet anyhow. And in fact, I wonder where my response is, but let me read that question first. The NBA has shown how a business can keep engaged with its fans during a pandemic and the 2020 election, and calls for social justice using real-time planning. What's another brand that has succeeded in its digital marketing in 2020? Okay, interesting question there. Here was Peter's question that Anthony curated. Peter thought that the NBA was doing a good job. And I'm actually curious what you mean by this, Peter, because statistics say different. And so here's what I had to say. I said, really? NBA ratings were abysmal. The NBA finals were down 48%. The season was down between 42 and 53%. This during a time when most people are stuck home and should have shown a 30+ thousand fans. What I was trying to say is that if you figure 30,000 fans from each of the states rather, that could potentially be filling up arena and then surplus, or the local bars or whatever in and around that area, they should have had a plus 30,000, in my opinion anyway, watching on TV, because people weren't out and people weren't seeing the game live in a stadium. And they should have been watching it at home across perhaps all the different, the channels that are there. And so I was trying to say that Apple TV, Disney, so Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix, Prime Video, HBO Max, etc., all of their ratings have surged since the pandemic. So if the NBA was actually that engaged, Peter, and engaging their fans well, then why did they see a 50% drop at a time when everything else was seeing surging ratings? So, all right. So anyway, that's what I just want to say, that I responded to that. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong, Perhaps, and this is the beauty of marketing, this is the beauty of any type of consumer engagement or discussion like this, if you felt that the NBA had engaged you during this time, more so than you felt engaged before, then I can't take that away from you. But I can share that the statistics that I just shared, that in fact the NBA's performance was abysmal at a time when the ratings actually should have gone up. And again, I'm going to get into a controversial mess, and I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say that this term that you used right here is the very reason why the ratings went down. And so don't shoot the messenger. That's what the data has shown, that fans were turned away by the fact that the NBA turned to this tactic. So while it might have engaged some people, Peter, it turned almost 50% or more of the NBA fans off. So rather than them getting a surge in ratings, it actually cost them. And that's the thing. Whenever somebody states a position, so whether again, and I want to stay away from the third rail of politics here, and so it doesn't matter whether it's left or it doesn't matter whether it's right. It doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or whether it's Republican, whether it's red state or blue state, whether you're unenrolled and you're in a purple state, okay? What matters is that as soon as you try to engage one group with a certain type of message, you are bound to offend another group by that same message. And I said in a prior video during this fall segment, and I've also said it in other videos, the goal of a business should be to make profit. The goal of a business should not be to lecture their fans, their customers, consumers about social justice, about politics, about the environment, about whatever the topic is. Do you know why? Because you can't win. So somebody might say, oh, well, they're doing good. Well, you're not doing good if you're offending half of your customers. And you're certainly not doing your shareholders any good if you're offending half of your customers. So you got to play things right down the middle. There was a time, when companies were smart. There was a time when companies came up with messages that appealed to both. And this is what I've been trying to say in the comments section, in the video's description, and also in the end of the last video and the one prior, so in chapter 5 and chapter 4, where I talked about bringing people together. The problem is that when we polarize things, when we are so far to the left or we're so far to the right that we alienate the other side, then how can any good come of that? So I caution individuals, I caution corporations or influencers or anybody in between to be very careful about when you're putting a message out there. And I understand this too. When I've endorsed different political candidates in the past, I've seen my LinkedIn and I've seen my Twitter, I've seen my subscribers or followers or fans. I know I don't have any fans, but you know what I mean. I've seen my subscriber base go down, or my connection base or whatever. And so you run a risk by doing that. I try to be, unlike cancel culture, I try to be fair though. And I think we all should do that. And we should try to make a compelling argument. And so I actually didn't do it in this last election cycle, but 4 years ago, when I supported one presidential candidate, I actually stated why, especially on LinkedIn. And it was an article about economics. And I explained about foreign policy and trade and manufacturing, and how the fact that is actually why I was supporting that person over another. And I've made that argument here on YouTube as well, at least I think that I have. So what I did is I was trying to make it specific to the channel that the message was on. And since most of the time I'm talking marketing or management or business related things, I felt that if I was going to get into politics, then I would stick to an economic issue. And in fact, I think you'll find that whenever I talk about politics, it really always goes back down to economics. And to me, that is the responsibility of a corporation. That is their socio-economic responsibility, not only to their audience, but also to their stakeholders. So the question though is that what's another brand that has been succeeding in this particular space during this particular time? Well, hey, Disney Plus did, right? So Jared talked about social justice. Disney Plus secured the rights to Hamilton. And so they utilized that as a platform to get more subscribers. And they did. I think I forgot the number. Anyway, you can look that up. But the weekend that they announced that Hamilton was coming, and the weekend after that, they had picked up plus however many thousand subscribers, tens of thousands. So, but anyway, check that out. That would be a brand that engaged related to the specific time that's there. But certainly all of the streaming platforms, with the exception of, I think, QB, right? As I mentioned before, all of them have done well, and they've made the most of this particular state that we're in. Trying to think about some other brands that have succeeded. I'll tell you ones that have, like Home Depot certainly has. And their outreach to the community too, and the money that they've invested back into their employees. So that's one that you could take a look at. Anyway, I hope that I was able to answer that question for you, Peter. And Anthony, I hope that I touched upon what it was that you were looking for as well. So good question, Peter, and great curation, Anthony. Hope that I was able to touch on what you were both looking for. Our next curation. Right. So I work in the pharmaceutical industry and constantly surrounded by KPIs. However, as a new business owner, I would have a tough time selecting KPIs. I wouldn't know where to start. Hey, that's a great question. So let's see what it is the question that you've curated right here. And thanks for the context right there. And good luck as a new business owner. And hopefully I'll be able to help you out. Patrick here had asked, his question is that the SMART approach to goal setting is a great way to improve sales. If you were to start a new business, what kind of marketing KPIs would you put in place? Okay, so to address both Patrick and JMB's question, let me try to answer it this way. And so this is going to be difficult because it's hard to answer it unless it is your own company, right? Because everyone's going to have unique key performance indicators. You would obviously want your business to be profitable, right? That would be one of your key performance indicators. You also would need to have a need or think about or have in the mindset of how long you're willing to invest into a company or a campaign or an idea or whatever it is that you have before you give up on it. So when somebody starts a new business, they need to understand that the business may not be profitable for 1 to 3 years. I think about Amazon. Amazon was not profitable for quite some time. One of the reasons why is that they were continuing to reinvest in themselves. But they had made so much money that was possible, right? But there are some companies, some businesses that have not turned a profit. And at what point do you stop sinking money into that? Hopefully, you've got a business model where you're bringing in just enough to cover everything, would then have a bit more to then reinvest and hopefully to pay your people. So let's take, for example, one of my spin-off companies, okay, which is Appflix, which I've talked about this semester, which is now, unfortunately, from one of the last videos to this video, is yet being further delayed. And it's further delayed because my developer went MIA. And talent is, I gotta tell, okay, so one of the key performance indicators is making sure that you have the right talent. Because if you don't have the right talent, your business is just going to, it's just going to flutter around. It's going to be listless. So I have been in development purgatory since last year because of the fact that I can't find reliable consistent and dependable programmers who will continue to work on the development, and then when we hit a snag or something, or some personal drama happens in their life, they just don't walk away from the job, then leaving me needing to go through the whole process of recruiting and hiring again, and which has happened to me. So anyway, in my case, right, so I started this company, Appflix, in October, November of 2019, and my product is still not out on the marketplace. Yeah, I have a dummy website that's out right now, but I'm the dummy because my business, because the website has not officially launched, and it's just listless, and it's just costing me money because I own several thousand domain names associated to that business. I'm paying for the hosting service that's there. I have to pay to recruit. I have to pay to train. And when I talk about pay, sometimes that's my own time, but time is money. I have to pay them, even when they don't finish the job. Frustrating, right? So, and then, there's all the other overhead expenses related to that. So that is now a net negative business for me into its first year, and it hasn't even launched. But I think it's a great idea, and I'm going to continue to sink money into it, and I can't wait till it finally does launch. But that's difficult. So anyway, when we're talking about KPIs, it is super important that we make sure that one of them is profit. All right, so what are some of the KPIs that you could have for some generic ones, I guess, for any business? And so that would be, you would need to set yourself with some goals and objectives. So the first one definitely has to be that balance sheet, though. How much money you're going to put in versus how much money do you expect to come back in, and when do you expect it to come in, and where you're going to put it. If you hire any sales, so anyway, no matter whom you hire, you need to set KPIs for them. So for example, if you hire programmers or developers, their KPI should be develop X amount of pages and their functionality due by a certain date, tested and ready to launch by a certain date. Okay, you hire salespeople or business development people, develop so many leads to build relationship, send out prospectuses, pitch decks, whatever it might be, do sales calls, expect a 1 to 5% return on that. What could be the dollar amount that you could generate from sales during X amount of period, right? So you need to do some forecasting built in that. So anybody that you hire, you have to have KPIs for. And any products that you're developing, you have to have KPIs for. You need to have benchmarking on where you're going to go and all of that. Whether you're going to buy equipment, whether you're going to, or lease it, whether you're going to buy or lease space, whether you need to renovate. If you're manufacturing the equipment that's there, with the supply chain, what are the logistics going to be? So your key performance indicators are really going to have to be based upon specifically what it is that your business is doing. Thankfully for me, I was 100% virtual before things that happened. However, my delivery was not. So whereas my business was 100% virtual in that I had remote teams across the world, I was working out of my home office and everything that we did was digital, my delivery required me to get on a plane and fly to a different country and either do corporate training, corporate consulting, or to give a keynote speech at a conference, or even give a training at a conference. Sometimes I would do board of directors brainstorming sessions, workshops, or whatever it might be. So my core delivery as a business was either consulting, speaking, or training. So even though I was fully prepared for an all virtual world, as soon as people couldn't travel and as soon as people weren't gathering at conferences or going to workshops, offices were closed, businesses didn't have extra money for consultants, my business went down the drain. And that's okay, because I was in the process of developing other technologies and different products, and so I took my employees and I spun them off to do things related to my own brands to develop for a time when we return to normal, or building other things like Appflix or 2 other social type networks that we're working on that if things don't ever return to normal and everybody's stuck at home and online, or reduced things that they're doing in online, then they'll be on those platforms. So, but the KPIs I'm missing across the board because of what's going on in the economy, because of the fact that there are a number of people who lack motivation. There is also people that just don't feel the value or need of money when they're not, when they don't have the same level of expenses in some cases. And I'm speaking like in the fields of people that I'm trying to recruit from, then it's very hard to hit those KPIs when the motivation isn't there, or the talent isn't there, or the demand for that talent is so high, then I would need to pay more to get somebody better. Anyway, am I answering some of the questions that's there? But yeah, certainly, as you mentioned, Patrick, SMART is just one of many organizational techniques that you can use to follow to get there. Just like in PR, we have things like the rope model. There's so many different acronym-based models that are organizational hierarchies that one can follow to get you there. So there's no real one set KPIs of success, but you need to set them across the board. So you would do one at a holistic level, then you would break it down from a departmental level, if you will, then you would break it down to an individual level. And when I say individual, that would be individual members of the team, individual products, services, whatever that might be. If campaigns as well too. So what is your marketing KPI going to be? And so you asked specifically here, Patrick, about sales and marketing. Yeah, well, what are they going to be? What are your goals and objectives? How many people, for sales, basically your KPIs are, I will make, off the top of my head, right? I will make 1,000 connections today. I will get back 250. So I'll send out 1,000 connection requests. I'll get back 250 replies. I will begin developing a relationship or sussing out of those 250, at least 100 of them as leads. Within a week's time, that 100 I'll boil down to 50, then I'll boil down to 25, and I'll hope to close 5 of them. So out of 1,000, I'll hope to get to close 5. And I will set benchmarks about what the particular dollar amount those 5 might potentially be. Now again, it depends on the industry. If we're talking B2B, then the ROI is going to be, well, the monetary ROI will be a lot higher per customer, but you'd be reaching out to say 5,000 just to close 5, right? So those KPIs would change. In terms of marketing, let's say your social media benchmarks. We will create X amount of pieces of content. We will commit to sending them out to 12 or 24 times per day at a specific time in each time zone on specific channels in order to gauge our metrics of what we deem to be success. We'll aim to get X amount of likes, X amount of reshares, X amount of comments. Comments alone are only good if we convert them into leads. So then generated from comments, how many of those end up becoming customers, right? So anyway, get what I'm saying? And if you're wondering where do you find benchmarks for this, well, there you can Google for things in your specific industry and look at, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the retail industry, or like retail being clothes versus toys, in the manufacturing space, in the software space, you can find benchmarks that other people have posted. They will not 100% apply to your business, but you could certainly use those as a basis to begin some of your forecasting. All right, so hopefully that was of use to both of you. All right, Alexander, you're picking your own question. That's fine. Though I'm picking my own question, I am highly interested to know if it is possible for a company to exist without a digital model. No social media, no internet campaign. Is maybe a brand's reputation enough to survive with a physical model? Okay, that's a great question. And let's see, what was your original question? Even giant corporations can fail if they do not adapt into today's digital economy. Is it possible for a company to exist in today's world without a digital model, but rather a physical one. Yeah, sure. I think about your local coffee shop, your local pizza joint, your Chinese spot on the corner, Mexican restaurant, local businesses, your local hardware store potentially. So some of these are the hairdresser, the gym, right? There are a lot of, and I'm just, retail is just quickly what's coming to mind here, Alexander. But there's a number of small businesses getting out of retail. You're a plumber, an electrician, a contractor, so a GC, landscaper. There are a number, or an interior designer, okay? Anyway, just sort of thinking out of the box, trying to think about different businesses. Printer. There are a number of companies, lines of business, that could perfectly exist without a digital model. Now, a caveat to that, and so if you had asked me this question 1 year ago, I would have said absolutely these businesses will excel without doing anything in the digital space. And I think I've answered a similar question in one, not in this fall segment, but in a prior term. 100% possible. So that's where location matters, or even your own brand reputation. But let's talk about location. So if you are a hairdresser so I'll try to think about different businesses, but yeah, so if you're a hairdresser, you're a plumber, you're a pizza shop, and you have a central location, so it's you can utilize the wall of your business to, put a billboard on it, if you will, or some flashing lights. Think about the thing at the barber parlor that lights up, right? Think about Krispy Kreme, hot donuts now, sign flashing, whatever it might be. Those type of businesses don't need to use anything digital to succeed. There's enough foot traffic of people driving by, seeing that, and then stopping in. And then if you've got a great reputation, word of mouth would spread that around, and people other than those that are just driving by would know about your business and come. So yeah, you could completely get by. Now, however, that was 1 year ago. Now, not being political, but when governors who are dictators decide that they are the arbitrators of all things right and wrong, and they decide that your business is non-essential, and they say that Home Depot or Lowe's can remain open, but you, the local hardware store, you need to shut down, then no matter where your location is, no matter what your marketing was, your business is going to fail. If you are a hairdresser or a nail salon, and you're in that fantastic location, and a governor says that your business has to close its doors for 6 months, then you're leasing that space, and your landlord is demanding 6 months, and you've got employees that you need to retain, etc., then guess what's going to happen? Then you're going to go under. So we're in different times right now. But all things being considered equal, and you are that physical business, and you're open, and you can do forms of physical, traditional marketing, taking that flyer, putting it in the window of different stores, putting it on cars, going door to door, leaving it at somebody's home, putting an ad in the traditional newspaper, getting a billboard, all right, things of that nature, then yeah, you can be 100% physical and still succeed in this marketplace. Not a problem. So I think about now, let's move that to another level. And so let's say though that those same companies then also created a digital platform, and they had a digital footprint, not paid, okay, but they had all of those physical things going for them. But then they did some things on digital organically, and they invited, when customers came to their shop, to go to their page. They encouraged people, again organically, saying that if you like, comment, share, then you can get a 10% off coupon or to get a free gift or whatever. Then they could scale that, right? So anyway, I hope that I covered that. But yeah, absolutely, I think that is completely possible in today's world for that still to happen. That's there. Okay, well then I'm going to end that for this session, and that's done. So that's chapter 6. That's done. So we are 6 for 6, and what I'll record next will be some lightning rounds where I'm just going to take as many questions as I can and answer them as quickly as possible, and then I'm going to divide them up into 2 different videos. And so we'll do a bonus 7 and we'll do a bonus 8. All right, sound good? Sorry, this last one was a bit rocky. Yeah, I don't know why. I thought 5 went pretty well. And anyway, maybe it was my dinner. Maybe it was that extra cup of coffee. But thank you for tuning in for chapter 6 of 6. Look forward to seeing you in bonus 7 and in bonus 8. All right. See you again soon. Thank you for watching chapter 6. Now, as I had talked about I believe in chapter 4, I hinted at it. Maybe I mentioned it in chapter 5. Well, as I come to the conclusion now of chapter 6, I say, by looking at the Twitter feed, that there's still more curated questions for me to answer, like a lot more. So because of that, I'm going to blow out what was supposed to be 6 of 6 and now go to a bonus 7th chapter and a bonus 8th chapter. So I hope you'll come back and join me for a chapter 7 and a chapter 8. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, there's always fresh content simmering on our storytelling stovetop. So whatever happens in this kitchen shouldn't stay in this marketing kitchen. I'm Ron Vining, your host, reminding you to invite your family and friends to the next episode of Marketing Kitchen TV.